Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we're going to take a deep look into the mental health crisis that is plaguing this country, and we'll talk about it with a leading expert next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, first there was the pandemic, and now we're all suffering from a second epidemic, if you will, of mental health issues. Every single day it is in the news, and employers are dealing with it, employees that are suffering from bouts of depression. Some people are working remotely, and it's not the boss or coworkers can't check on them the way that they might if they were sitting right next to you. And to talk about depression and mental health, Kevin Hall, he's the president of Grant Halliburton Foundation. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so this is such an important issue, and this organization has been around for how many years?
12 years.
12 years. And I remember you saying that you were kind of shouting into the wilderness for a long time, and now suddenly everybody is listening. Can you share that?
Yeah, 5.5 years ago was when I started with Grant Halliburton Foundation, and I would occasionally have conversations with school leadership. And I would tell them I'm with Grant Halliburton Foundation, and they would say, "Oh, you guys do wonderful work. We've heard of you. Great work. Keep it up." And I would say, "Well, we'd love to come and visit with you and your leadership and see if there's anything we can do to help your school." And often they would look at me and say, "Well, thank you, but you know what? We got this." And we heard that a lot. And 5.5 years later, we don't hear that anymore. We have a lot of schools calling us. A lot of schools are panicking. They're seeing real problems. They finally shifted their attention away from COVID, and they're looking around and they're seeing these kids that are struggling, and they're saying we've got a real problem here. And so we are getting a lot of folks calling us saying we need your help now.
And it's more than a guidance counselor or a school counselor can handle, isn't it?
It is. It's way more than a school counselor can handle. Most schools don't have enough counselors on staff to begin with. But addressing mental health in a school environment, it's more than just having counselors and having a few classes. It's literally changing the culture of how schools think about mental health. We want mental health to be as much a part of the everyday conversation as physical health. If you think about when kids are going back to school, especially if they're playing sports, they get a physical. Why aren't they getting a mental health checkup? Every school should have a screening tool, a mental health screening tool to check their kids to see how they're doing. And if they show to be at risk, let's get them the help they need. It's a tall order, it's a challenge, but we can get there. But we have to change the culture. It's got to be part of the everyday conversation.
Absolutely. I want to give the audience some background on Grant Halliburton. There was a great piece done by CBS 11 a few years ago. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
In this morning's medical alert, we take a look at a disease that has a very dark side, bipolar disorder. The family of a local teen is trying to raise awareness about the mental disorder that took their son's life. 19-year-old Grant Halliburton was featured in a newspaper. A musician, a writer, and an artist.
It would have been wonderful to see how someone with these multi-talents might have tied them all together. It wasn't meant to be.
Because last November, Grant took his own life. Grant's family says although he was smiling and outgoing, he had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, a manic depressive illness.
Who knows? I can't tell you the reasons why, but my supposition is that the undertow was just too powerful for him to fight.
He's one I wish the whole world could have known. It's very hard. Sorry.
Now many are getting to know the Plano West Senior High School graduate through the work he left behind. So many pieces now lining the walls of the Plano Arts Center.
Just to be able to stand there and know that he did this with his hands, and he created that.
His family is hoping this exhibit will help raise awareness about bipolar disorder, a disease nearly 6 million people face.
All of a sudden, I want to talk about it, and I want to do what we can to help others, so it seems important now.
According to medical experts, 1 in 6 people with bipolar disorder will commit suicide. Medication can help. Grant was on it, and he had spent 30 days in a hospital after telling his mother he needed help. But Dr. Trish Suppi says coping is more difficult for those who are younger.
They may not, know how to kind of work with their own thoughts and to realize this will pass. There's more impulsive behavior associated with late adolescence and early adulthood.
His family has started a foundation in Grant's name and just awarded $5,000 to the Plano ISD to train counselors to recognize early signs in kids who may need help.
He loved to help people, and if we can help in his name and continue that in his honor and his memory, that's great.
Well, the Journey exhibit runs at the Art Center of Plano through June 1st, and you can find more information about that exhibit and bipolar disorder at CBS11TV.com. Click on links and numbers.
So I think one of the things that is so troublesome is it's hard to recognize the signs of, how do you know when it's just somebody going through the blues, which we all do, and something more severe?
Yeah. It is difficult. It's not uncommon for a parent to think that their child is going through something or looking for attention, but you just never know. And one of the big parts of our programs with schools is teaching not only the students, but also the staff and even the parents, what are those warning signs? What does it look like when a kid may be in trouble? So we teach those things. We have programs. One of our most popular programs is a program called Hope Squad. Hope Squad is kids are elected by their peers to become the eyes and ears of their classmates. They receive training, mental health training throughout the year, but they become the eyes and ears of their classmates. They're looking out for those kids who might be in trouble. That's just one example of how we're helping schools recognize and teach those kids how to understand that my friend might be in trouble, because usually when a kid is in trouble, they're not going to go tell their parents. Sure. They're going to go tell their friends.
Let's talk about the role of social media, because when I was coming up, there was not all these platforms, and what people often do is they're trying to get more likes and shares, and so if they're going to be mean, they're going to be super mean on social media.
Yeah. It's tough. Kids have a hard time shutting it down. And, we were asked all the time about social media. And it's not that social media is a bad thing, but it can be used for bad purposes by people who are, acting in a mean way. And some kids are very sensitive to that, and they can't really handle the criticism or the lack of likes or things like that. This is a tough one, and a lot of it has to do with families and parents working with their kids to really manage the time they're spending on social media and when to turn it off, and understanding that you can't let your life be driven by what you're seeing on a screen. It's just not that important.
Absolutely. And your amazing organization did a great overview video a few months ago. Let's go ahead and roll that.
The challenges our kids face are increasingly complex, but the opportunities to help them are all around us.
It's our goal to change the culture within the school and the community. We started to dream bigger about how mental wellness could become part of the fabric of a school culture.
At the same time, Parish Episcopal was having similar conversations, so we joined forces to pilot the Centered program at Parish. Centered proved that this could work in a school, and so based on that successful model, Grant Halliburton Foundation launched the Thrive strategy in 2019.
Thrive is a comprehensive strategy for infusing mental, social, and emotional health in schools. We believe that programs like Thrive are not just important, but vital to students feeling good and functioning well.
We knew from the start that we couldn't do this alone. We brought in strategic partners to strengthen our offerings for schools, and we got to work in our first school district, Anna ISD, and we haven't slowed down since.
The strategy is organized into 6 pillars.
Public awareness is really the first step to changing the culture, breaking down stigma and making mental health a part of everyday conversation.
Okay to Say was created by the Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute, and it's a campaign that's really focused on making it okay to talk about mental health and normalizing conversations.
They have been amazing in developing materials, resources that are posters, that are flyers, social media posts that the schools can use to start alerting their community about mental health.
For years, Halliburton Foundation has presented life-saving mental health education to students, teachers, parents, and professionals.
Because of the Thrive strategy working in partnership with us, I can honestly say we've been able to stop chronic issues from developing and potentially save lives.
Another important aspect of Thrive is research.
The information collected from our own surveys and the research of our partners help guide strategic planning for social emotional education and mental health awareness.
Rhythm is a wellness tool for K-12 students and staff. The Rhythm app has 3 core features to it: daily wellness check-ins, adaptive activities, and wellness data for educators and admins to actually intervene in the moment with students. We're taking these things off teachers' plates while then giving them the information to build better, more meaningful relationships with their students. The partnership with Halliburton Foundation has led to us ultimately serving about 160,000 students in the Metroplex area.
One of the most critical pieces of Thrive is peer-to-peer support. Research tells us most adolescents experiencing depression or suicidal thoughts confide in a friend rather than an adult.
Hope Squad is an internationally recognized program that empowers students to become additional eyes and ears in their school as they learn to identify warning signs, engage in conversations, and persuade their friends who are at risk to seek help from adults.
Hope Squad really has been like, hey, it's okay to not be okay.
When I heard about this program, I was immediately attracted to it because my brother actually passed away from suicide. Just being able to make a difference really not only impacts the other people, but myself as well.
We have seen an impact here on our campus that students are using words to describe how they feel. I don't feel well, I don't feel right, I don't feel happy like I used to. You're having those kinds of conversations now instead of keeping it quiet.
Having a group that people can rely on, every school should have that.
Just seeing the impact within our little group and then the way that it spreads to everybody else has been really rewarding.
It has just been an immovable force that is just helping kids left and right.
With the assistance of community support services, we're addressing the basic needs of students on our Thrive campuses.
Here for Texas is a program that we developed to help provide resources out in the community around mental health and substance use, and really giving people the type of information and support that they're looking for.
They provide resources that I don't always have time to go and research.
One of our partners that I think is so very valuable is Children's Telebehavioral Health.
We love partnering with Children's Telebehavioral Health. Students don't have to leave campus, they can get that service there. The students who go through the program have improved grades and attendance. And one parent even shared, we got our girl back.
Because of Thrive's strategic planning, schools are able to provide opportunity for conversations, education, and resources that break the stigma and infuse mental health into the academic culture.
There's gonna be situations and cases where people need help. Might as well train people to recognize signs and things like that. People are aware of what we do and they come to us and it works.
We currently have 81 North Texas campuses using our Thrive strategy, and we have 33 Hope Squads in 12 school districts and growing.
It's the best part of my day when I'm doing Thrive stuff because it's truly helping people in my district.
And it gives me hope that this generation can do better and can be better.
Kevin, so impressive. Tell us what's next.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge that is out there, and this is across the board in mental health, are the availability of resources. There's a lack of resources for the number of people that need help. How do you get these kids the help when they need it and where they need it? And that is our next focus. We have actually partnered with the Region 10 Education Service Center, Region 10 being, they are the service arm for all public schools in North Texas. And we have partnered with Region 10. We're going to start a pilot program. They're working to identify 5 smaller schools in North Texas. And what we're going to do is we're going to work very closely with Region 10, and we're going to continue the Thrive programming, but we're going to focus specifically on making sure that these schools are doing the screening work, pre-screening, early detection, so that we can identify kids who may be at risk. And once we identify those kids, let's make sure that we have what is the next step as far as resources go. It might be they need counseling within the school, a school counselor or a nurse practitioner. It might be that they need to go to telebehavioral health services at Children's Health, which is one of our partners. It might be they need to go to a third party, which is our mental health navigation line can help with that. In the worst case situation, it might be a 911 call. Those tend to be the exception, but occasionally that happens. And we're also going to explore a peer-to-peer type of program for those kids who may be suffering, but on a minor level. And maybe what they need is they just need a friend, maybe an older kid who's been trained, who can become their mentor, their peer. So the idea is, let's figure out all the different avenues to get them the resources they need, not 3 weeks from now, but right now, and let's get them down the right path. And that's our next, that's where we're going next. We're excited about Region 10. They're a great organization. And like I said, we're going to start with 5 small schools. We're going to collect a lot of data and figure out what works, and then we're going to go from there.
Wow, congratulations on the wonderful work that you're doing with our young people. We only have a short time left, so if there's somebody watching this right now who's hurting, or they know someone who's hurting, what would you like to say to them?
Yeah, I would say if you know someone who's in crisis, real crisis, they need to call 911 or the Suicide and Crisis Center. If they are just looking for mental health resources, they can call our mental health navigation line. That operates Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. That number is 972-525-8181. And we have trained volunteers who get all your information, and then we will do the research, and we'll typically get back to you within about a day or so, and we'll have 3 or 4 options that they can explore, mental health resource options. And then we'll typically follow up in about a week to make sure that you've got the help you needed, the information you needed, and we will just stay with you and continue to help as long as they need us. I think my last plug would be, this is for all nonprofits across North Texas. Coming up September 22nd, I believe, is North Texas Giving Day. And it's very important. It's a big day for all nonprofits, so I would encourage everybody out there on that day to support the organizations that are important to you, and hopefully that will include Halliburton Foundation.
Wow. Kevin, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you for sharing this important story. We're going to end with your website, which is granthalliburton.org. Thanks again.
Thank you.
And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.